I found out my wife was planning to take everything and leave me on our 20th anniversary. We renewed our vows the morning she decided to erase me from her life. I've always thought those cheesy soap opera moments, dramatic affairs, secret bank accounts, spontaneous betrayals were just fantasy for the bored and desperate. But no, turns out real life doesn't need a script to become absolutely, jaw-droppingly insane. Yesterday was supposed to be a celebration of 20 years of marriage, 2 decades of us, of memories, fights, growth, sacrifices. I woke up to the smell of fresh coffee, something Mira never does. I smiled. Did I forget our anniversary or die in my sleep? I joked. She laughed kind of tightly. Just wanted to do something nice for my favorite man. Looking back, it was all wrong. The overly sweet tone, the way her eyes flicked away from mine. The coffee mug had the word forever on it. I thought it was romantic. I didn't realize she meant forever gone. We renewed our vows that morning in her parents' backyard. It was small family, a few friends, nothing fancy. She wore a simple white dress, not the one from our original wedding. Doesn't fit anymore, she'd said with a shrug. But it wasn't just her body that had changed. Something in her energy felt off. She was too polished, too performative. Even her voice trembled, but not from emotion, more like someone trying to keep a mask in place. She repeated her vows like someone reading from a recipe. Me? I choked up. Legit had to pause when I said through good times and bad. I had no idea how bad things were about to get. The rest of the day passed in a haze of ritual. Brunch with her folks, some awkward jokes from her brother Cannon, who always smirks like he knows something you don't, and then a few hours to rest before dinner. That's when she got glued to her phone. Her thumbs were practically dancing across the screen. Finalizing surprise details, she said when I asked. The smile she gave me didn't reach her eyes. That smile, it's haunted me ever since. Dinner was at Carmelo's. Fancy, overpriced, pretentious. She'd been asking to go for months. I made the reservation weeks in advance. It was supposed to be special. The host greeted us with complimentary Prosecco. Congratulations on 20 years, he chirped. Mira laughed and leaned in to kiss me on the cheek. I remember thinking, maybe we're finally finding our way back to each other. Spoiler, we weren't. About halfway through my pasta, which tasted like self-loathing and basil, I excused myself to the restroom. Not because I needed to go, but because I needed a moment. Her phone had buzzed 3 times during the meal, and each time she snuck a glance under the table like a teenager hiding a text from a parent. And then I heard it. Her voice. In the hallway by the kitchen, she was pacing with her phone pressed to her ear. He has no idea, she whispered. I've already transferred most of his inheritance to accounts he can't access. Once the house is sold next month, I'm filing for divorce and taking the kids to California. For a moment, I thought I was hallucinating. My ears buzzed. My vision tunneled. The edges of the hallway blurred. No, Cannon, it's already done. He's so wrapped up in his grief about his mom, he hasn't noticed anything. The house should have offers by next week. He'll be blindsided. The vow renewal was perfect, looked so dumb standing there. My hand touched the cold wall to steady myself. My knees buckled slightly. You're overreacting, a voice inside me said. Maybe you misheard her. Maybe it's a prank. But my gut knew. My gut, which had stayed silent through years of petty fights, long silences, and forced smiles, finally screamed, She's leaving you. She's been planning this for months. And she's taking everything. I ducked into the bathroom and splashed cold water on my face. The man in the mirror didn't look like me. He looked like someone on the edge of a panic attack in a cheap Italian restaurant bathroom. I'm not gonna lose it, I whispered to the faucet. Not here. Not now. When I came back to the table, she smiled at me and asked if I wanted to split the tiramisu. I said yes. I even fed her the first bite. Inside, I was dying. We drove home in silence. She tried to hold my hand. I let her. She kept talking about how magical the day had been. I kept nodding like a man being buried alive. That night, she tried to initiate sex. I said I had a migraine. Her eyes narrowed. You're never the one to say no, she said, her voice thick with suspicion. I'm tired. The wine hit me hard. She stared at me for a second, then turned away. Fine. I guess I'll just take something and pass out. I waited until she was asleep before moving. I checked our bank accounts. My parents' money, nearly everything I'd inherited after their deaths, gone. Transferred out into unfamiliar accounts. I opened the safe in our closet. My mom's jewelry? Gone. Dad's watch I planned to give Eric on his 18th birthday? Empty velvet box. She had even taken the box. I stared at the emptiness inside for a full minute, then laughed. Not the bitter, angry kind. The laugh of someone who has officially snapped. Of course, of course. I opened her laptop. Password, Serenity 13, our daughter's name. Cute. Within 10 minutes, I had found an email thread with a real estate agent titled, Our Escape Plan. One email stuck out. Mira wrote, "He's still completely in the dark. I even brought him coffee in bed this morning. The irony is delicious." That night, I didn't sleep. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I planned. The first red flag was in 2003. I'm standing in a crowded kitchen at a friend's house party. Mira's drunk, sitting on the counter, laughing too loudly. A guy touches her arm and she doesn't pull away. "Hey," I say, walking over. She turns to me, eyes glossy. "What?" "I think you've had enough." "Oh, now you're my dad?" She slurs, her voice sharp as broken glass. That night, she called me controlling. She told me I was trying to kill her spirit. I apologized. I thought I was wrong. God, I was so young, so stupid, so willing to see love where there was only control. Now at 5 a.m., I messaged my friend Steven, told him I needed a place to crash. Then I called Anna, my sister, who immediately said, "What did she do?" That sentence alone told me she knew more than she ever let on. By 6 a.m., a locksmith was at my door. By 9, I was sitting across from a lawyer named Joan, holding a folder full of screenshots and shaking hands. "This is going to get messy," Joan said, flipping through the emails. "But you've got the receipts. She's in trouble." "Good," I said, "because she doesn't get to rewrite our history." But here's the twist I didn't see coming. When I went home to pack essentials, Mira was already outside. Sitting on our front porch, mascara streaked, face blotchy, chain smoking something she'd quit 5 years ago. "Russ," she cried when she saw me, "please, can we talk?" "You can talk to my lawyer," I said, stepping past her. "You're blowing this way out of proportion." "Oh, am I? Was the vow renewal also for tax purposes, or was that just emotional window dressing?" "I was scared, okay? You've been distant since your mom died. I was losing my mind." "And stealing my dead mother's jewelry helped you cope?" She followed me inside. "You don't understand. You shut me out. You chose her over me for months. I was alone." Her voice cracked. For a second, I saw the Mira I fell in love with, but then I remembered that line from her email. "The irony is delicious." I turned to her. "You want sympathy now? After gutting me like a fish and feeding me my own heart at Carmelo's? After planning a whole new life with the kids without me in California? You don't know what it's like to feel invisible in your own home. You know what else is invisible? The money you stole, the trust you burned, the future you obliterated." She went quiet. "You weren't supposed to find out like this." I laughed. It wasn't funny, but I couldn't help it. "You mean I wasn't supposed to find out at all, right?" Silence. The last thing she said before I threw her out. "I still love you, Russell." I looked her dead in the eyes. "I loved you too, but I loved someone who never existed." By noon, Mira had switched tactics. Her text to me dried up. No more, "Where are you?" or "We need to talk." Now, she was going after the only leverage she had left, the kids. At first, I saw the notifications pop up on Serenity's iPad, which she'd forgotten to take that morning. Text after text from Mira, each one with more sugar and poison than the last. "Hey, baby girl, I miss you. Daddy's not well right now. Please don't believe anything he says about me. Mommy needs you to be strong. I'll explain everything soon. Just know I'm fighting to get you back. Don't trust what he says. He's confused. He's hurt. He's trying to hurt me now, too." I sat there, staring at the screen, my hands trembling not with rage, but with the overwhelming weight of knowing exactly what game she was playing. She wasn't trying to reunite the family. She was trying to win custody before we even got to court. And she was starting with Serenity, our 13-year-old, soft-hearted, people-pleasing daughter, the one who cried when her goldfish died. The one Mira knew would fold under emotional pressure. I felt a sharp ache behind my ribs like something hollow and collapsing, and suddenly I was 10 years old again, standing in the hallway of my childhood home, listening to my parents argue behind a door. "Don't drag the kid into this, Mark. He's going to find out eventually, Leah. Might as well hear it from me. You're not protecting him. You're turning him into a soldier in your damn war." Back then, I didn't understand what they meant. Now I did. I texted Mira. I kept it simple. "Stop messaging the kids." She answered, "They deserve the truth." I was pissed out. "So do I." But you didn't seem to care about that last night while planning to vanish with my children and my dead parents' money. She texted back immediately. I told you I was scared. I didn't know how to talk to you anymore. You talk just fine to Cannon and Marcus, I texted. In a couple of minutes, I saw her answer. You have no idea what I've been through. You're trying to paint me as a monster. But you were never really here. You buried yourself in grief and forgot we existed. My answer was calm. I buried my mother, not myself. I threw the phone onto the couch and stared out the window for a long time. I kept waiting to feel anger. I got nothing. No boiling rage. No fight or flight. Just a leaden, suffocating stillness. Like my body was waiting for a disaster that had already happened. Then Eric called me. His voice was flat. Not angry. Not scared. Just guarded. Hey, Mom's been texting me all morning. I know. I saw some of the ones she sent Serenity. She says you're having a breakdown, that you changed the locks and froze all the money. Do I sound like I'm having a breakdown? Honestly, I don't know. You sound calm, which is kind of scarier. I sat on the edge of the kitchen table, stared at the crack in the wall Mira had always said she'd fix. I'm not going to lie to you, Eric. Your mom did something bad, real bad. She emptied our accounts. She listed the house without telling me. And she was planning to take you and your sister to California without saying a word. She said she was protecting us. She also told Marcus she was divorced. Silence on the line. Marcus? Who the hell is Marcus? Her ex from high school. They reconnected. He was helping her plan her escape. He gave her 50 grand. Wait, are you serious? I showed Joan the lawyer. We're preparing for the custody hearing now, but I need you to know something. I'm not going to keep you from your mom. I won't do that to you. But I also won't let her lie to you. So what happens now? We start telling the truth, out loud, even when it hurts. He was quiet again. Then I heard him exhale, long and heavy. I love Mom, but I don't like who she is right now. That broke me. Not in the falling apart kind of way, in the tectonic shift kind of way. For the first time since everything began unraveling, I felt something solid beneath my feet. Around 4 p.m., I got a text from a blocked number. Blocked number. Thought you might want to see this before it disappears. Check your email. In my inbox sat a link to a private Google Drive folder. There was only one file, a video. It was surveillance footage. Security cam. I recognized the restaurant hallway Carmelo's. My heart sped up. It showed me walking toward the restroom. Then it showed Mira, phone to her ear, back turned, whispering into the receiver. The audio was tinny, but it caught enough. He has no idea. I moved everything. Once the house is sold, it's over. I watched her lips move, saying the same words I'd heard that night. He's grieving. Easy to manipulate right now. The video zoomed out. Someone else was in the hallway. A waiter walking past holding a tray. He pauses when he hears her voice. He looks up. He walks on, slowly, glancing back. He recorded it. That was the blocked number. That waiter saw the whole thing. He must have recognized me when the story began to blow up in our neighborhood. This was gold. It wasn't just my word against hers anymore. It was proof. I sent the video to Joan and my sister Anna, who immediately called me. You're telling me she staged a vow renewal on camera the same day she plotted a heist in the hallway of an overpriced risotto joint? I wish I were making it up. Russ, do you understand how batshit this is? I laughed. Is this the part where we laugh so we don't cry? No, this is the part where we get a fucking Emmy. When Eric was 9, we used to play a game on long car rides called Truth or Lie. He'd make up 2 statements. One real, one fake. I had to guess which was which. I stole a donut from the teacher's lounge. Or, I kissed Olivia Jenkins on the cheek. You kissed Olivia, I'd say. Wrong, he'd laugh. Donut, I'm a criminal. I'd laugh too, but inside I always felt proud. He trusted me with his truth. Now I had to trust him with mine. That evening, Mira called again. I didn't answer. She left a voicemail. I know you're trying to make me the villain, but you weren't there for me, Russell. You were buried in your grief, in your work, in everything except this family. I was drowning. I did what I had to do to protect myself. Her voice cracked, but not with emotion. It was the sound of a mask slipping. The kids deserve better than your martyr act. You're not the hero here. You're just the man who didn't notice his wife disappearing. Click. Maybe she was right. Maybe I didn't notice her disappearing. But I sure as hell noticed when she tried to take everything with her. By the time I picked up the kids from school, I wasn't just prepared, I was rehearsed. Joan had helped me put together a folder of digital receipts, and Anna coached me on how not to spiral into a full emotional breakdown in front of my children. Spoiler: I didn't follow either script exactly. When Serenity opened the car door and slid into the back seat, her eyes were already wet. Eric followed behind her, jaw clenched like he'd been grinding his teeth all day. "Hey," I said, trying for casual. My voice cracked like I was 13 again. "You guys want Starbucks? On me." Eric shrugged. "Sure." Serenity nodded, too quick, too desperate. She was unraveling. We drove in silence for a bit, the radio filling in the spaces I couldn't. Lizzo was yelling something empowering, but all I could hear was Mira's voice in my head. "They barely notice him. He's always working." Inside Starbucks, I let them order whatever sugar bomb monstrosities they wanted. Caramel drizzles, chocolate chips, whipped cream, anything that might soften what I was about to do. We sat in a corner booth, awkwardly holding our cups like peace offerings. "Okay," I began. "This is hard, but we need to talk." Eric looked up. "Are you and Mom getting divorced?" Straight shot, no hesitation. That's my boy. "I think so. Yeah." Serenity burst into tears. "She said you were lying," she sobbed. "She said you were sick and that you locked her out and—" "She's not locked out. She's choosing not to come home," I said, gently but firmly. "And I'm not sick. I'm angry. There's a difference." But she said, "Sweetheart," I said, reaching across the table, "I'm going to show you something. You don't have to read it all now, but I need you to know the truth exists, and it's not hiding." I pulled out my tablet and opened the email thread with the real estate agent, then the bank transfer confirmations, then the recorded phone call from Marcus, timestamped and all. Eric leaned in, reading carefully. Serenity stared at the whipped cream melting into her drink. Eric finally looked up. "So, she lied about everything." "Not everything," I said. "She probably meant it when she said she loved you." "Did she mean it when she said she loved you?" he asked. Silence. I didn't answer. I couldn't. 3 years ago. It was a Tuesday, rainy. I came home early with Chinese takeout and a bottle of wine. Mira was on the couch, watching Selling Sunset, glassy-eyed. "Date night?" I asked. She didn't look up. "We need soy sauce," she said. I stood there for a moment, holding bags of food and hope, and realized we hadn't laughed together in weeks. Back in the booth, Serenity finally whispered, "Is Mom going to jail?" "I don't know," I said. "That's not up to me, but she's going to have to answer for what she did. That's what adults do. They answer." "She said you were hiding money," Eric said. "Do I look like a Bond villain?" He smirked. "Just barely." Serenity blinked. "What's a Bond villain?" I drove them home slowly, letting the silence sit like fog on the windshield. Inside, Serenity went straight to her room. Eric lingered. "She really tried to take everything?" he asked quietly. "Yeah," I said, and I almost let her. "Why?" I paused. "Because I loved her, and I didn't want to believe someone I loved would ever do this." He nodded like that answer made sense. Then he went upstairs. That night, after I put away the dishes, Mira always left them to soak, aka abandon them, I found a plain envelope stuck between two cookbooks. It was addressed to Russell in Mira's handwriting. Inside was a letter. Not recent, not fresh. It was dated the 8th of June, 2020, pandemic days, lockdown, Eric's 13th birthday. I don't know who I'm writing this for. Maybe just myself. Maybe for when this is over. If I don't leave first. I think I hate him, not Russell. The version of me who stays with Russell, who smiles and nods and fakes orgasms and lets him believe everything is fine. I want to run. I think about running all the time. I don't know if that makes me a monster or just someone who finally wants to breathe. If you're reading this, maybe I already left. Or maybe you found it because I didn't have the courage to do what I wanted. Either way, I'm sorry. Or not. I'm still deciding. I read the letter 5 times. By the end, I felt something cold settle behind my ribs. She'd been gone for years. I just didn't notice. 2 days later, I dropped the kids off at my sister's house, so Mira could have supervised visitation. Joan's idea. Neutral ground. Myra was already there, sitting on Anna's porch swing, legs crossed like she was the PTA Mom of the Year. "Hi," she said, too cheerfully. "Hi," I replied flat. The kids went inside. She waited until the door shut. "Did you tell them everything?" They needed the truth. "You mean your truth?" I turned. No, Mira. I mean the bank records, the emails, the real estate listing, the video from the restaurant. Her eyes flickered. That video was illegal. Tell it to the judge. She stood up. You're ruining everything. You're turning them against me. I'm not turning them against anyone. You did that yourself. I'm just showing them who you are. You think you're the better parent? No, I said. But I'm the honest one. She stepped closer, lowering her voice. You don't understand. You left me alone. You buried yourself in work and grief and guilt. I was drowning. You had a phone, a voice, a partner. You could have talked to me. Instead, you made an escape plan. I made a survival plan. You took my mother's jewelry. You pawned my dad's watch. Was that survival? Silence. Then, I was addicted, she whispered. What? After your mom died, I started taking your old Vicodin from your surgery. Remember the knee? I stepped back. She nodded slowly. Yeah, I know. I lied. But it made everything easier. Until it didn't. You were high around the kids? No. God, no. I stopped before it got there. That's why I went on methadone. I didn't tell you because I was afraid you'd leave. You were already leaving. She sniffed. I still love them, Russell. Do you love me? Her silence was the loudest thing I'd ever heard. Mira left Anna's house with a twisted half-smile that didn't reach her eyes. It was the look of a poker player holding nothing but bluff and bravado. 3 hours later, I got a ping from Joan. She just filed an emergency petition for temporary custody. She's accusing you of emotional instability and hiding assets. There's also a letter attached from someone named Marcus. I dropped my phone. Marcus. That son of a b****. When I first called him weeks ago, he sounded surprised, even guilty. Swore he had no idea Mira was married. She told me you were separated, he'd said. I was just trying to help a friend escape a bad situation. I believed him. That was my mistake. I sat across from Joan, clutching the folder of documents like it was Kevlar. Let me get this straight, I said. She's accusing me of being unstable, when she's the one who's been high on Vicodin and plotting a financial haste. She's playing offense, Joan said, tapping her pen. She knows she's losing in facts, so she's going for optics. Emotion. She forged documents, I said, slapping down a printout. This letter from Marcus, she had him write it after I confronted her. She's using his words as evidence that you were abusive. I blinked. What? Joan sighed head. It's not physical, but the letter implies emotional neglect, isolation, control. I was grieving my mother. Courts don't process grief, Russell. They process paperwork. If you want to win, you don't just need to be right. You need to look right. I leaned back in my chair and laughed bitterly. Fantastic. All this time I thought being a decent father was enough. Decency is invisible in court, she said. We need proof, and we need strategy. The courtroom smelled like plastic and disillusionment. Mira arrived in beige, a soft sweater. Minimal makeup. A saint with a side of martyrdom. She even brought her mom, the same woman who once drunkenly told me I was too sentimental to be a real man. Marcus was there too, and when our eyes met, he flinched. Joan called Marcus first. He walked up like a kid about to puke during a school recital. Mr. Creighton, can you confirm whether you gave Mira Whitmore vesicumenta nola this year? Yes. Why? She said she was escaping a bad marriage, that she needed help getting her kids out of a toxic situation. Did she tell you she was still married? Not at first. Later, yes. And you still gave her the money? Tu felt sorry for her. She was crying, said she was scared of her husband. Did she ever show you evidence of abuse? No. Did she mention she was moving family money into her private accounts before filing for divorce? No. Did you know she pawned heirlooms that didn't belong to her? He looked at Mira. Number. A cold smile followed. No further questions, Your Honor. I expected the judge to be stern, unreadable. Instead, she was clearly pissed. Like someone who'd seen one too many made-for-television custody dramas and had no patience for real-life narcissists pretending to be the heroine. When Mira took the stand, her voice shook. Her hands trembled. She looked at me only once, and when she did, it was pure venom. He stopped talking to me after his mom died. He lived inside that grief and expected the rest of us to orbit his sadness. He made me feel like I didn't exist. So I made a plan. I'm not proud of it, but I had to survive. I never meant to hurt him, but he wasn't there for us anymore. I was alone. I almost believed her. For a split second, her voice curled around my ribs like it used to, when she was still my person. Then Joan projected the video from Carmelo's onto the courtroom monitor. Mira's face froze mid-sob. The words echoed. He has no idea. The vow renewal was perfect, he looked so dumb standing there. That was the moment I won. But it didn't feel like victory. It felt like watching a house burn down knowing you built it with your own hands. In the video, you can see me smiling at her, dumb and devoted, holding her hands in mine. I remember that moment. I remember thinking, maybe we made it. Maybe we survived the hard years. The universe must have laughed so hard, it tore a hole in reality. Outside the courthouse, Anna lit a cigarette she'd given up 3 years ago. "I'm gonna age 10 years from this week alone," she muttered, "and I'm not even married to the lunatic." I just stood there, staring into the asphalt. "You okay?" she asked. "I keep thinking I'll cry," I said, "but nothing comes out. I think I used up my tears on season 5 of Grey's Anatomy." "Same," she said. "Also, let's be real, Derek deserved better." That night, I sat alone in my apartment. The kids were still with Anna. I pulled out the letter again, the one from 2020, and then I opened a blank document and began writing my own letter. To Serenity, to Eric, to the version of myself I abandoned in order to stay married. Mira lost emergency custody. I have temporary full custody pending review. The judge requested a psychological evaluation for both of us. Mira moved in with her mom. Marcus ghosted. And me? I'm learning how to breathe again. I don't know what forgiveness looks like yet. I don't know if it's possible. But I know this. If someone tries to burn your life down, you don't run from the flames. You walk through them, and you rebuild.